Hello friends, and welcome to my channel, Tree Climber Art. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Ohuhu Gray Tone Marker Set. And no, this is not sponsored by Ohuhu at all, although if Ohuhu wanted to sponsor this video or maybe send me some marker sets to review, I would definitely do that. But this is not that kind of video. I got this set from my husband, and I have been really enjoying using these markers, and I noticed there aren't a lot of videos reviewing this set, so I thought I'd make a video about my thoughts on what these markers are good for and if they're really worth the price and worth adding them to your existing alcohol marker collection. So let's get right into it. To start off, I'm going to be swatching out the colors. There are several different type of gray tones in this set. So there are yellow tones, red tones that are kind of more on the purpley side. You have your cool grays, your warm grays, your neutral gray, which is really nice to have for reasons I'll point out later, and your blue grays and your green grays. Some of these, like the yellow grays and the green grays, I never really thought like, oh, I need this, but they are really nice to have. It's really nice to expand my color range in my marker set, since like unlike other mediums, you can't really mix these colors to create custom colors. I mean, you can layer the markers, but it's not the same. So and I also love that there are like lighter hues. Ohuhu's not really good about having light colored markers like Copics, so I really like the inclusion of the really light colors. But yeah, my favorite sets in here are definitely like the neutral grays for like value studies and desaturating things. I really love the blue grays. My favorite color is blue, and expanding my blue collection because the original Ohuhu sets that I had didn't really have a good range of blues, so just expanding that is super nice. And here's a close-up of the colors, and this is a really good representation of what they look like in real life. One of the ways I really like using these markers is by doing value studies, especially in portraits, since that's like the main thing I do. But yeah, I really like using these for value studies, especially with the neutral grays, because there are so many of them, and so you can really get in a lot of values. These studies are really important to understand light and shadow shapes, which will help you to make your portraits and just drawings to look a little more realistic. And this is a more simple way to understand light and shadow that's independent of color, because when you add color, things start to get a little more tricky, at least in my head, because you're thinking about like color coordination. So this will help to understand just light and shadow in general, and the values of things. And then when you add color, you can start thinking about color in a way of value as well as in coordination. But sometimes the value is more important than how well they coordinate when portraying, especially things in 3D and in composition, which isn't a lesson on like values and and composition. I could talk about that in a different video, but that's just one way I really like using these markers. The other way that I like to use these markers is for just gray toned or monochrome illustrations. So even if I'm not doing value studies, but just, you know, maybe want to make my life a little easier for the moment and just use like one color set, then I really like using these markers. Another thing I really like about this set is that because they are very gray toned and desaturated, it helps complement the Ohuhu sets that I already have, which, if you know Ohuhu markers, I really love their saturated colors, which is fine. I think it's definitely very useful to have very vibrant colors, but I do like the range, especially in a composition. I like having the contrast between something that is very saturated versus something that is very desaturated, or just anything in the middle. And that's what I think this set really helps fill in that gap that I had with even like adding the pastel set. This helps add like those desaturated tones as well as the really light toned markers. Ohuhu also really likes their darker colors, so having some lighter colors in my marker sets without having to pay for the expensive Copic markers is really nice. And kind of going along with that last reason, I would recommend getting this set because you can use the neutral tone markers to help desaturate your existing super saturated colors. So just like I'm doing here, what I usually do is I lay down the gray tone marker, then I put the color I want to desaturate on top, and then another layer of gray on top of that so that I have a little more of a desaturated color than I did before. Yeah, and then the last reason I would say is I really like using the gray tone markers for the shadow, not so much of the neutral gray because as I noted in my portrait video, the shadows do have color to them. So I tend to use like the red gray set because they have a little more of a purple hue, just like I'm using here. In the video it looks very gray, but in person it definitely has more of a purple tone when you lay it down. I also really like using the warm gray for like if something is supposed to be white but I do need like a shadow, I'll use a warm gray or a blue gray to kind of show shadow shapes in my illustrations. So those are all the things I do like about this set. There's really only one thing I don't like about this set, is that some of the like the colors don't actually go together that are supposed to be in a set. So for example, the warm gray 0 and the warm gray 1 look like they go together because they are a little more saturated and vibrant looking, which is weird to have in a gray tone set. And then the warm gray 05 and the warm gray 4 both look like they are actually more on the gray side, just a little warm toned, but again, they don't look like they go with the other warm grays. So that one's just like a weird, like it's still nice to have those, but it would be nice if they actually went together so that when I use them in a like grayscale illustration, it would look a little more unified. Also, like the numbering system is really strange, like the fact that warm gray 05 it goes before warm gray 4 is really weird, but that's an Ohuhu problem. All our markers are kind of numbered funky. So in conclusion, do I think this marker set is worth it? I would definitely say yes, especially if you already have other sets of markers but don't yet have any gray tone markers. I would definitely go for it. I mean, you get 36 markers for $30, which is great because Copic markers are what, like $8 per marker. So this is definitely worth your money. Definitely a great addition to your set of markers, and I think you would definitely get a lot out of them. Anyways, those are all my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and let me know what you guys think of this gray tone set from Ohuhu. I'll see you in the next video.